Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. What if the majority alien presence on this planet, the reason that they're not leaving is because they're planning on staying here forever, and they're actually waiting for their brethren from another world to arrive to completely take over? That would explain a lot of things, wouldn't it? Maybe that's the reason for the cover-up. Maybe what's happening behind the scenes, the secret control groups across this globe are working frantically, trying to reverse engineer recovered extraterrestrial craft because they know that there's something going to happen in the future that's going to change the landscape of the Earth in a way where human beings will not be here anymore. And the only way to do that is to keep this secret, the reality that there is an extraterrestrial presence here, because they don't want these aliens to know that they're working on things secretly in an effort to potentially combat these things once they show up in force in greater numbers. And that's the reason for the cover-up. Could be part of it. You know, you hear a lot of different people in ufology talk about the reason why are they here. I mean, we really can't figure it out. We don't know what they're up to. What are they doing? Why aren't they leaving? Why do they have a continued interest in what's going on here? How come they don't really interact in an open way with human beings? Instead, all that we ever hear are people run into these things, they get abducted, and that's it. There's no formal sort of hey, we're from another world, nice to meet you kind of stuff going on. And maybe the reason for that is because there's no intention of being friendly with us. Basically, this world could have been discovered by aliens a long time ago, centuries ago, decades ago, hundreds of years ago, whatever, and they made a decision at that point, hey, this looks like a good place for us to relocate. Maybe their planet, the planet that they're coming from, is at the end of its life. Maybe they've because of the technology that they use to get to where they are now technologically, maybe in the effort to reach that point, to reach those rarefied heights of knowledge, it destroyed their own planet. Maybe they went through a lot of the same things we're going through right now. And at some point it became unlivable anymore, and they sent out scouts. They sent out other ships to find other habitable planets. And maybe they like this one a lot. They found it a long time ago, and they really like it a lot, and they're planning on colonizing. That's what might be happening. This isn't an old idea. I mean, this is something that some people talked about in the Pentagon back in the 1950s, that basically what might be happening here is it's a colonization, that their world is dying and it's time to find a new world, and they've selected this one. And we are sitting here all these decades now, since the late 1940s, since it seemed like they showed up in force, and we're just biding our time, all of us. We don't realize what's coming. It could take a long time to get here. A lot of people they underestimate how vast space is, the universe. Some people, you have to really try to put it into perspective. I mean, 1 light year is a ridiculous amount of miles. I mean, you're talking about 6 trillion miles. 1 light year. 1 light year is 6 trillion miles. According to Adam Frank, here's an article. I'm going to be referring to this article throughout this podcast. He was talking about, now Adam Frank, this guy he's written some books. He's a professor of astrophysics at the University of Rochester. He's also written a book called The Little Book of Aliens by Adam Frank. He's also served as the science consultant for Marvel Studios' Doctor Strange. This guy's pretty smart. He knows what he's talking about, and he has written a recent article here about the distances in space and what it might take for some alien race to get here, perhaps. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But anyway, he says here, astronomers measure interstellar distances in light years, which I know is confusing. A light year is the distance light travels in a year and spans 6 trillion miles. That's a 6 with 12 zeros after it. 6 trillion miles. That's a ridiculous amount of real estate to cover to get here. Obviously, here's the thing. Before I even get into this article and talk about what he's talking about in this article, I just want to point out that it is, regardless, right? They figured it out. There's something here, right? There is something here. There's a non-human intelligence among us, right? They are here. Now, of course, the aliens I am talking about, the ones that might be planning a colonization, are the usual suspects: the gray aliens, the reptilians, and the insectoids. They're the ones, right? They're the ones that have been operating this apparent hybridization program for many years now. And we'll get into all of this. I'm going to go through this whole crazy idea I have, this whole crazy theory of what might be happening. Now, of course, I always talk about, in fact, recently I've been talking about how there are different races that seem to show up here too. Aliens that don't look like the predominant ones that people run into, like the grays or the reptilians or the insectoids. Sometimes people run into other things, and they seem like a lot of times they're one-offs. You don't really hear about them too much. Maybe a couple of sightings of certain kinds of aliens, and then you don't hear about them again. And we talked about all of that. That maybe the men in black are actually extraterrestrial hybrids that go chasing down other stories with regards to UFOs to find out what's going on, because they're concerned about other species perhaps eyeing this planet. And they want to make sure that nothing else tries to come here. That's what could be the answer behind that. But let's face it. I mean, all these years now, we have this cover-up. It's ongoing. A lot of people out there understand for sure that there is a cover-up out there. I mean, if you're someone who has studied this, you know that the governments are covering this up. They do not want to share the truth about the extraterrestrial presence, although there's been so many people out there over the years who have encountered these beings or the craft up close, and yet our government acts dumb about it. Well, the reason they might be acting dumb, one of the reasons, in addition to some of the other things we've talked about on here, I always say the number one reason is reverse engineering aspects to this. They want to reverse engineer this before some other country does, and then they have the power. And that's why they're keeping it secret. But there could be other reasons. I mean, I understand at first they probably had no idea what was going on, but over time it's possible that they determined that there was a plan to colonize this planet and that there were more beings coming. I mean, for all we know, the grays and reptilians and insectoids might be working for someone else. Maybe they were actually created. Maybe they were put together from the DNA from all various kinds of creatures in the universe, and now they are actually working for something else that hasn't shown its face yet. That's something else that might be on its way here, or maybe more of the same. Maybe there's a planet of insectoids out there that's on its way here right now, but they haven't gotten here yet, not in force. Now, if we go back and talk about the books by David M. Jacobs, the Temple professor, retired, who wrote books like The Threat and Walking Among Us, a person, by the way, who has interviewed well over thousands of different people who have claimed to have been abducted by aliens, and also has hypnotized well over 1,000 of these people. And he's talked about what his findings is, his determination at the end of this. His conclusion is that these beings are trying to take over the planet via this hybridization program, and at some point there's going to be some big change. We don't know what that change entails. We just don't know. But what it could entail, it could be what Jacob suggests it could be, is that at some point in the future, aliens are going to take over this planet. Humans will be they'll be expendable, and this planet will become a haven, a home for a different sort of intelligent life that you couldn't even imagine, you couldn't even dream of exists. And that's what could be happening here. And meanwhile, the reason for the cover-up could be is that there are scientists working in secret right now under government supervision trying to come up with ways to prevent this change from occurring. And that's why they need to keep it secret, because they don't want to show their hands to the aliens. Because if Jacobs is correct, that means they're already among us. There are some beings among us right now. They look human, but they are not. They are hybrids. and they look just like human beings, but they are working for alien. They're actually more alien than human, they're actually half alien, half human, and they are among us right now. And they report back to the insects and greys. I mean, that's what could be happening here, according to Jacobs. That's what he believes, and at some point they're going to take over. Well, maybe the reason they haven't done so yet is because they're all not here yet. Maybe, like I said, there could have been different craft that were sent out, all different points of the galaxy or universe, throughout the universe. We really don't know how the extent of this. And they came upon Earth, and they felt like, oh, you know what? This looks like a great place for us. So we gotta have to do something about these human beings on here, but. We'll take care of that over the next, how many years? So many years, 10, 30, 40, 50, 100 years, whatever. And by the time we finish up with it, our comrades from Planet X should be showing up. And then we just completely take over. Maybe that's what we're waiting for. And in the private right now, secretly, government... top secret government... there's a top secret government program to try to avert this change from occurring, to fight back once they show up. That's what could be going on. But if that is what's going on, right, I don't think we're not going to be able to stop them. And I guess maybe the best thing, maybe they figured, well, at some point these beings are going to show up. We'll continue working on ways to stop them, but we're probably not going to be able to stop them, and they're just going to take over, and we're done. That could be the thinking right now going on behind the scenes, and that's one of the reasons, possibly, why they need to maintain this cover-up, because if that's the truth, what good is that going to do for people to know from their point of view, from the gatekeeper's point of view? What good is it going to do to tell the truth if that is what the truth is? There will be some panic if that is the case. But I say this, I mean, I think we have a better shot if everybody knows what's going on, rather than just a select few trying to work on this problem. If they are coming here, who cares? I mean, if they're among us right now, as suggested by Jacobs, what does that matter? So what? We tell them to their face, you know what? We're not going to give this up without a fight. Just so you know, right? That's how you handle it. You just... this whole thing, this whole galaxy that we live in, this whole universe, intelligent life could be just like humans. Look at the horrible things we do to each other. I mean, you just look at things that were going on in Israel recently, the stuff that's still going on in Ukraine now for years. I mean, we kill each other, we harm each other, there's mass murders constantly. It's just we hurt ourselves. We're animals. We act like maniacs. I mean, what if these beings coming here, what if they come from the same sort of cloth? What if that's the case? What if they're just like us and they're just like fighting over land? They look at this, oh, here's a good prime spot of land. Let's take it over. Maybe that's what they're thinking. Maybe they don't think any much more differently than we are. The way we act, the way we think. That's what could be going on here. And they eyed this up a long time ago. They figured out, okay, this is what we want. Okay, we're going to start this hybridization program. We're going to get some of our own agents here spread out all over the place. They're going to be heading the crowd control once we show up in force and right before we take over. For all we know, they might have technology that might cause everybody on this planet, every human being, to go into a trance. And then walk on some ship and then get dumped into the middle of the ocean. I talked about that before. We could be moving towards something like that. That's what could be happening. But we have to wonder. You have to wonder if that is the case. How are these beings getting here? And then I could say this. I don't know how they're getting here, right? But the fact is they are here. I know that, right? I know that there's something here, right? So they're here. They figured it out one way or another. They figured something out, and we just don't know what the method is. But right now, there could be an armada of ships heading toward Earth right now. It could take, who knows? We don't know how long it's going to take till it finally gets here. But when it gets here, that's going to be the end game. That's when the change will occur. Well, I guess we're going to find out. But anyway, I want to get into this article here because Adam Frank does get into he talks. Well, I won't read the whole thing, but I want to get into the possibilities of how intelligent beings could travel great distances through space, and he outlines it pretty good here. It says here, generation ships. This is something we've talked about before in the show. He says, depending on their biology, the lifespan of our hypothetical aliens might be shorter than the centuries-long journey required for slow sublight speed travel between stars. This is certainly the case for us. If you are awake the whole trip, you'll be dead by the time you get there. One way around this dead-on arrival dilemma is to have children along the way. You'll still be dead, but your kids or grandkids or great-great-grandkids' offspring will make it. Generation ships, also called century ships, are one way that interstellar travel might be possible. Those ships would have to be pretty big, though, to carry an entire colony of space travelers. It would be hard to miss one of these if it's pulled into orbit. Also, you might imagine that those grandkids would be pretty pissed off about having to spend their entire lives on a smelly space cruiser. Maybe the kids are the ones erratically flying the UFOs. That could explain a lot. Well, I like the idea of these generation ships. That's something that is, I would imagine that it's something feasible. I would imagine when I believe that the human race will be capable of doing something like this at some point. But of course, like Adam Frank points out, you're going to have you're not going to make it to the destination. It's going to be your great grandkids probably who will make it. You're going to have to live life. Generations of people, of families are going to have to live full lives on some space cruisers before they get to the destination that they're heading toward. But I think that's a possibility, and I'm sure that these a technologically advanced race of beings that are here, the ones that are coming here right now, that's maybe how they got here. Maybe that's how they do it. Like I said, what could have happened here is that these beings, the ones that are abducting people on a regular basis for decades now, the ones involved in this hybridization program, they probably found this planet at some point. And they realized, okay, this is the place we want to be. We'll send a message back to back home, right? So tell them, yeah, come on, we're gonna get this place ready for you guys, and we'll have it all ready by the time you get here. And maybe that's what they're waiting for. And when the time comes, then they're gonna show their faces, and no one's gonna like them. No one's gonna like their face when they finally do show it. That could be the case. Okay, here's another thing that he talks about, Adam Frank. Cryosleep. Another obvious answer to the dead-on-arrival dilemma is to hibernate. Cryosleep technology would basically freeze the body's metabolism, or at least slow it way down for the duration of the journey. In spite of being a staple of science fiction, no one has come close to getting this to work for higher animals like mammals. Still, it is the kind of solution that doesn't require new physics to magically exist, maybe just new biology. Also, if post-biological machine-based life is really a thing, as we'll explore later, then maybe some aliens switch to silicon-based digital form, and this question of long timescales is not even an issue anymore. Okay, I don't know about cryosleep. I don't subscribe to that one. Okay, light sails. That's another one you've been hearing about. Maybe we could use light sails to travel to the deep reaches of space. It says here, while no one has ever been blown away down the street by a ray of sunlight, photons, or light particles, do exert a push on matter. If you could extend a large enough sheet of material in space, you could use the sun to propel you through space. The idea of such solar sails has been around for a long time, but in 2016, Philip Lubin of the University of California, Santa Barbara, proposed using very powerful giant lasers rather than the sun to provide the light for interstellar sailing. With a large enough ground-based laser, you could accelerate a sail in space and a ship tethered to it up to nearly the speed of light. This way you could cross the distance between nearby stars in years or decades rather than thousands of centuries. And it goes on to talk about the billionaire philanthropist Yuri Milner was so taken with this idea that he gave $100 million into development of a project called Breakthrough Starshot. It's a long-term effort with a 30-year timeline because that's how hard the technology will be to develop. The hitch for UFOs using this tech is that you need another giant laser in the target star system to slow you down if you want to stop and visit. So that method of travel to the stars has issues, as you can see. It would be hard to stop once you got going. And then the next one he has here, wormholes. If the speed of light limits how fast you can travel through space, then the best solution for interstellar travel might be avoiding the through part of the problem. That possibility was one of the gifts Einstein gave us with his general theory of relativity, or GR. In relativity, space is not an empty void. Merged with time into a single entity called space-time, it is like a flexible fabric that can be bent, stretched, and folded. Wormholes are a kind of space-time tunnel that uses this folding to join two widely separated regions of space together. While such wormholes, aka Einstein-Rosen bridges, are most definitely allowed in GR, they are unfortunately unstable. Once a wormhole is formed, by whatever means, natural or otherwise, it will almost instantly slam closed. If aliens wanted to use wormholes to build a kind of galactic transit system, they would need to find something physicists call exotic matter. This is the stuff that has true anti-gravity properties that literally pushes space apart. If aliens had and could control exotic matter, they could force the two mouths of a wormhole open and connect two distant parts of a galaxy. Before you get too excited, there's a big hitch here. Exotic matter isn't real. It's just a term you can add to the GR equations. Include that term into formulas and it changes how they behave. Hooray! But that doesn't mean the term represents anything that actually exists in the universe. Still, that anti-gravity term is possible within the framework of relativity's physics equations. So if exotic matter is more than a physicist's pipe dream, maybe it could serve as the means for fast interstellar travel. Now, I just want to comment on that for one thing. Okay, he's saying that you can't, this wormhole idea wouldn't work unless you had exotic matter, but exotic matter doesn't exist. Well, again, I just want to point out that these beings, they got here somehow, right? I mean, so they're here. I don't know how they did it, and Adam Frank doesn't know how they did it, or no scientist on Earth really knows how they did it. Well, maybe some scientists working in the secret control group, maybe they have it figured out. The ones who don't want to share any information with the rest of the world, maybe those guys have a better idea on what's going on there. But the bottom line is that they came here one way or another. Had to be one of these ways, right? Or maybe there's a way that nobody even dreamed of yet. Anyway, he has another one here. Warp drives, or aka hyperdrives. Warp drives or hyperdrives or frame shift drives, or whatever you want to call them, are a staple of science fiction. If you want your characters to easily travel around the galaxy, just put a warp drive on their ship and no one will ask any questions. If aliens could build a warp drive, they would once again be using the fabric of space idea from Einstein's theory of general relativity. The drive doesn't push you through space from one place to another. Instead, it creates a warp bubble that stretches and then relaxes the space-time around you. You don't travel through space faster than light. You warp and unwarp space itself faster than light. While nothing can travel faster than the speed of light through space, space, i.e. space-time, can move at whatever speed it likes. The nice thing about warp bubbles is that, like wormholes, they are also theoretically possible in GR, as physicist Miguel Alcubierre showed in a famous 1994 paper. But there are, as you might expect, some really big problems with warp drives. Once again, you would need that non-existent exotic matter. Even more problematic is that warp bubbles may generate huge shockwaves of high-energy gamma rays as they move along. Once you dropped out of warp, this blast of energy would fry everything in your path and sterilize any planet you were visiting. Not the best way to announce your arrival at a starport. Now, I just want to stop here for a second. Because, you know, there's something that always comes to mind here. I think about this. There was some astronomer, I can't remember what his name was now, because it's really not a name to remember. But it was not a couple of weeks before the Wright brothers had their famous flight at Kitty Hawk. He said that would be impossible. It's just never going to happen. And then lo and behold, Orville and Wilbur Wright had their famous flight, and that astronomer was dusted into the dustbin of history. He just didn't have the foresight to see that flight was possible. And you have to wonder, like, okay, this person, Adam Frank, very smart science person, science writer, right? Interesting background. However, are there things even the smartest among us can't think of at this point in time? They just can't even dream of it. That's where I hear people saying it's impossible, it's impossible, it's impossible. It's impossible to us right now because we just haven't figured it out yet. Anyway, continuing here. Quantum mechanics. This is another form of potential travel through the stars that Adam talks about. Quantum physics, our uber powerful theory of the atomic and subatomic world, is notoriously weird. In quantum mechanics, physicists are forced to talk about particles being in two places at the same time, or two particles instantly affecting each other even though they're on the opposite sides of the universe. Even 100 years after quantum mechanics became the most accurate, potent physical theory ever created, the basis for all our electronic miracles, we still can't say we understand what it's telling us about reality. Personally, I think that's pretty cool. What it means for interstellar travel, however, is that there might be something hiding in quantum mechanics that allows you to bypass GR's apparent restrictions about space and time. Some folks working on merging quantum mechanics with GR into a theory of quantum gravity even believe that space-time may not be fundamental. Instead, it might emerge out of some deeper aspect of quantum reality. So yeah, quantum mechanics could have some tricks up its sleeve that a sufficiently advanced alien species might know about and exploit for interstellar travel. But be careful, unlike the other items on our list, here we are certainly pulling hope out of our keisters. There is no physics here yet other than waving at the passing quantum weirdness. Okay, let me just stop there. Yeah, that's exactly true. See, there's some things Adam Frank even talks here about. We just don't know enough about quantum physics at this point to say if it could be applied to traveling through deep space. We just don't know enough yet. So yeah, I think you put it all this. The bottom line is this: they got here somehow, right? The ones that are here, the ones that seem to want to stay here for whatever reason. Nobody knows the answer. Why are they here? Why are they not leaving? Why are people seeing UFOs all the time? What's going on here? What are they up to? What are they doing flying around? You know, I hear Richard Dolan talk about that all the time. Like, what are they doing? Yeah, we don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're preparing this planet for something that's coming, some change that's coming that no one's going to like, and might spell the end of everything for all of us. And they take over because this planet is prime real estate as far as they're concerned, and we're nothing but we're like bugs. We're like we're like an invasive species that they need to eradicate. Like a flea infestation. You get a flea infestation in your house, you got to get people to come in and get them out of there. Right? That's what's going to happen. Maybe that's what they're working toward. They're going to get us out of there. They're going to treat us like a bunch of insects that and come here with just destroy us and then take over. And who knows? Maybe blow the whole thing up just to get rid of our buildings because they want to put in their new facilities or whatever kind of facilities they like to live in. I mean, who knows what they desire? But maybe at some point that's what we're looking at. They're coming in here, they're getting rid of us, and then they're colonizing. They're already here. The colonization's already started. They're just waiting for the who knows how many they got coming here. Let's throw out a number: 500 million different aliens coming here right now in giant motherships, an armada of them, and they're on their way here. And these agents that were sent ahead that identified this as a habitable planet for them is getting it prepared for all these decades. They did this whole hybridization program, so they have all these agents all over the place that are going to act as crowd control, along with some probably alien abductees under their control, and they're going to get rid of us. And then they're going to take over. Who knows what process they're going to use to do that? Like I said, they can probably use mind control, and we'll all just walk off a short pier into a volcano or something without even knowing what's going on. Who knows? But I think that's a possibility here. I mean, our government officials who are keeping this secret don't want to talk about it. Obviously, there must be some big reason behind it. Maybe this is the reason. Maybe I'm wrong. I keep saying it's because they're trying to reverse engineer this stuff, and that could be part of it. But really, the reason is because they know that there's aliens on their way here to join their comrades that are already here, that were setting the groundwork, and they're going to take over the whole place and get rid of us at some point. But meanwhile, this group of control group is working on a means to prevent this from happening. Well, hopefully they'll come up with something. But the whole problem is, if that is the case, then that means at some point the whole world's going to get caught with their pants down, right? At some point, if this were true, if what I'm saying is something that is true, and there's beings on their way here now coming in force to take over and colonize, right? Then that means the rest of the world is going to be completely, absolutely surprised. It's going to be a big surprise, a surprise that no one's going to welcome whatsoever. And you will see panic then. You will see panic then. But anyway, I'll leave a link for this article. There's a lot more to it than what I was just going over there. These were just some of the things he was talking about how beings might be able to traverse great distances in space to get from one star to another. And there, like I said, there could be things that we haven't even thought of yet. Even our smartest scientists might not have come up with something yet. And that could be what's going on. So maybe we're facing the end of the world here, the end of the human race, and this whole world is going to be wiped clean for new tenants, and they're setting up shop right now, waiting for their mob to show up. And then we're going to get booted out of here, destroyed. Maybe they'll use us for food. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe that's what's going on too. They are insects. Maybe it is the insectoids who are in charge, like David Jacobs suspects, and they're interested in drinking our blood and living off that for a while. Maybe they'll harvest us the same way we harvest a field of wheat. Maybe that's what the plan is. I mean, maybe they'll treat us like the same way we treat cows. Maybe they'll have stables for us where they put us through a machine and knock us out with something in one of those things that they had in remember that movie No Country for Old Men, where they put that thing on their head and it puts a shot into the cow's brain. Maybe that's what they'll do. They're going to treat us like that when they show up and drink our blood, and who knows. Anyway, have a nice day. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time.